Ali Fadhil. And tonight is a very, very special night. Not because of the guest that we have today and the intriguing conversation that we're going to have later on, but tonight we are celebrating the birth of the awaited Savior, Imam al-Mahdi Ajallahu Ta'ala Farajahu Sharif. So I'd like to send my congratulations to you and the whole Muslim world, in fact, to the entire humanity, to celebrate a man who will bring justice and peace to the earth the same way it is currently filled with injustice and corruption. And we await his day with eagerness. We pray to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala that we may be able to receive his guidance, his blessings during our lifetime, inshallah. The theme of tonight's show, and also the theme of generally Light Our Nights, has always been to be able to delve into the mindset of some of the public speakers, specifically within the artistic expression. So, i.e. poetry or Quranic recitation or nasheeds or, for example, public speaking. What I would like to know, what the benefit is for the viewers, is really what makes these people tick. What thought process do they go through in order for them to be able to achieve the results that they achieve, how they move people's hearts from within the audience, how they be able to really impact an audience. So the benefit for the audience would be is that they can get a step-by-step guide as to how to, for example, become a reciter or become a Quranic reciter or a poet or a public speaker. So on tonight's show, as I mentioned, we are privileged to have someone who is an expert in two fields, not just one. So two fields. So the intriguing conversation that we're going to have today is looking into anashid and recitation, as well as Quranic recitation. So I'm delighted to be amongst and with Sayyid Jalal Masoomi. Sayyid Jalal, assalamu alaikum.
Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi ta'ala wa barakatuh, Brother Ali Fadhil. And I take this opportunity to say salam to our dear viewers, and another opportunity to congratulate the arrival of this occasion, the birth anniversary of our great Imam Mahdi Ajallahu Ta'ala Farajahu Sharif, to all mu'mineen, to all followers of Ahlul Bayt.
Fantastic, fantastic. Very well received, Sayyid. Many thanks for your time and for gracing us with your presence. Yeah, first and foremost, we have to really discuss this. How's the quarantine going, or the isolation? And yeah, how's it going your end?
Alhamdulillah, we have to thank every time for any blessing we have from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Even if this is on behalf of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, this is a blessing, because of course you're saying quarantine, so I will say to my students that is Quran time, so you can have your relation with Quran, and you can take this opportunity to go through the recitation of the Holy Quran, learning the rules of recitation and melodies, all this stuff. Alhamdulillah, at the moment we are all good by the grace of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, and inshallah let's see what will be our destiny.
Inshallah. So you mentioned, actually, quite interestingly, your students. So look, first and foremost, before we get into to kind of the meat of the discussion regarding your position, your anashid or your Quranic recitations, or what you're actually known for, I'd love to get a bit of a background regarding yourself. So, for example, what was it that you first got into? How old were you when you got into it? And a bit of background regarding your field of expertise.
Sayyid Jalal Masoomi is originally from Afghanistan. So actually, when I first started recitation and learning of the Holy Quran, it was 3 years old, and of course it was the will of our mother, may Allah place her in paradise. Like today is the death anniversary of my mother, but that was thank you very much, that was the will of my mother. She wanted me to be a reciter of the Holy Quran. So I started when I was 3 years old. My mother pushed me, and of course my father, he was a reciter as well, a good teacher. So they pushed me to learn the recitation of the Holy Quran. So I was actually for about 10 years in Afghanistan, because I was born there, and after that I went to Iran, and then I learned the professional part of the recitation in Iran with my teachers. and after that, so I went back to Afghanistan. I became a professor in Spanish language at Kabul University, and then working at the Kabul University and Spanish embassy. So I went to Spain and I studied my master in diplomacy and international relations. And from Spain, I came to UK, and Alhamdulillah, now I'm a lecturer at the Islamic College, and as well doing my dear prophet professional recitation of the Holy Quran, teaching recitation of the Holy Quran for the students located in the Western countries.
Fantastic. So you're in a profession that you love.
Alhamdulillah, yes, I'm proud of that. Yes.
Fantastic, fantastic. Well, I mean, you have a wealth of history within Quranic recitation, which again we're honored to have you on board. So I think the insights that you can give when it comes to Quranic recitation is going to be very, very valuable. And so I think I'd love to start the discussion similar to how I start the discussion with all my other guests, and to really understand the thought process that you would go through, and we can get into the science of recitation later, but I want to talk about practical steps. What do you do physically and practically whenever you receive an invitation? So as I mentioned, Assalamu alaikum Sayyid, how are you? We'd like to invite you to this particular event for Quran recitation specifically. What are your initial thoughts?
So actually, first of all, I have to know which day and time is that program, that event, and then I have to check my schedule if I'm busy at that time or no. And then I will ask them, so what is the program about? So I have to check the verses of the Holy Quran, which type of verses I have to recite. I always, even when I recite the Holy Quran, I match the melodies with the verses of the Holy Quran. The verses of the Holy Quran for myself is the priority. So I have to always match. When I, for example, recite about, like for example, tonight I was reciting in a online program. It was about the birth anniversary of our great Imam Mahdi. So I had to recite the verses which is about our great Imam Mahdi Ajjalallahu Ta'ala Farajuhu Sharif. So first of all, I have to know the time, the date exactly, and then the topic. And then I will choose the topic and then go through the procedure.
Okay, fantastic. So there's two things here. So number one, you need to analyze the verses, and which verses suit this particular topic, and then the melody to match the verses. I want to focus on this part here, because how far down the line between invitation to actual program do you sit down and start to analyze the melody?
You know, as I mentioned, the topic of the, for example, event or any majlis it could be. So I will get the topic, and then I will choose the verses of the Holy Quran. And another thing, Brother Ali Fadhil, I will ask them, if you choose the verses, that's good. If no, I will choose for you, because I have to recite, because the verses should be adopted for that majlis. Then I go through the meaning of the verses of the Holy Quran, and then I adapt the melodies, which, for example, we have 7+1 basic melodies. So if the topic is, for example, about martyrdom anniversary, so I have to choose sad melodies. If the topic is like for today, so I have to choose the happy melodies, like Sika, for example. So it's all related. Okay. And then I, of course, the same day, how to warm up the voice, how to. If sometimes a person, I want to recite without looking to the verses, because when you recite by having the verses in your memory, so you will have confidence, so you recite easily. You don't have many pressures on yourself, so you recite easily. So usually, sometimes I memorize the verses as well for the majlis, and that will help you as well.
Fantastic. So you mentioned 7+1 basic melodies.
Yes.
Please tell me more.
Okay, صنع بسحرك. صنع بسحرك. Each letter is from the beginning of the melodies. صاد for صبا, نون for نهاوند, عين for عجم, باء for بياتي, سين for سكة, and حا for حجاز, را for rust, كاف for Kurd.
صنع
صنع.
صنع.
Yeah, صنع
صنع.
بسحرك.
صنع بسحرك.
I have
Could
to add
you?
some,
Yeah.
brother Ali Fadhil, I have to add something here because there are two schools. One school says there are just seven, and another school says no, it is 7 plus 1, which is 8. The school which says that is 7, I appreciate that school, and I am in the favor of that school as well, because it says we have 7, which is 7 number is the number 7 is miraculous, because we have 7 days, 7 skies, and of course 7 types of recitation and 7 melodies. Because the kaf, which comes from maqam kurd, kurd is part of maqam bayati. That's the reason we count all of them 7. But the reason I mentioned 7 plus 1, because there are another school and some reciters, they count maqam kurd as a different melody.
Okay. So if it wasn't, if you're of the school of thought which is only 7, it would only be صنع بسحر.
بسحر.
بسحر, sorry.
Now it's بسحر now.
Right. Okay. Okay. So, because I had this discussion with brother Zohair Husseini from America, and he was walking me through some of the maqamat. And what I'd love to find out from you, because this is your profession, what's the easiest way to become a bit more familiar with these maqamat?
First of all, we have to know this maqamat is not made or created by human beings. In the lesson of the voice and melodies, when we teach our students, this maqamat is in the nature. It is a reflection of ihsasat, a reflection of the sensations when we have. For example, when I teach my students, I say when a baby cries, it is maqam sabah. When you ask something, for example, please give me, you ask for example, to ask someone to give you something with a, for example, lamentation or something like that, it's maqam sabah. And even when we have conversation, two sides together, it is maqam nahawan. So it's in the nature. We haven't made or created the melodies. The melodies, they are in the nature, as because they are ihsas, they are sensation. Just it's like the colors, brother Ali Fadhil. The colors, they are in the nature. The painters, they don't create the colors, because the color, they are in the nature, but just they can mix. For example, we have mixed melodies sometimes. The melodies themselves, they are divided in 3 groups, because we have basic melodies, secondary melodies, and compound melodies, like the colors.
Okay. Could you give us an example of how I would be able to familiarize myself with some of these melodies?
So these melodies actually we have, there are 2 ways of teaching or being able to be familiarized with this type of melodies. Number 1, that is academically, so you go through the theory, like as we teach the students through the musical alphabet, because we have do, re, mi, fa, sol, la, si, do, which is completely academic. And another type, which is just we call it sama'i. You listen, you copy. Like for example, you know maqam sabah is hazin. For example, you know this. The way of recitation of, for example, maqam sabah is like this. أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. So you have this in your mind, and you know it has 3 levels: qarar, jawab, and jawab. So you copy this in any type or any other verses of the Holy Quran, or you listen to a reciter, to a famous reciter, to ustad, and you copy him. That is imitation you do. But another form which always we recommend, that you have to learn the maqamat, the melodies, what are the pitches, what are the fawasil, what are, for example, the octaves, the main octave, all of this through the theory.
Did you learn? Did you learn? How did you find time to learn all this? Because you were busy with your master and in diplomacy, and you were also busy with I think the Spanish language. You were also doing some work with. So how did you have time to learn all this?
Actually, Brother Ali Fadl, believe me, in the way of Quran and Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, if we take one step towards this, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala and Quran will take 10 more steps towards us, and they will help us, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala and Quran itself. That just needs practice. Of course, me, myself, I'm still in the process of learning because it is an ocean.
Wow.
For example, now compound melodies, it is completely an ocean. Believe me, Brother Ali Fadl, in Egypt, many famous singers, they used to come and sit and listen to the recitation of famous reciters like Mustafa Ismail, like other reciters. They used to copy the melodies. And let me tell you something. For example, I myself, when I do, for example, anashid or latmiya or all this stuff, believe me, the melodies I take from Quran because it will give me. It has vast types of melodies. It will give you. Just for example, with maqam shuri, you can recite different anashid. There are many other, for example, latmiya or other stuff. That is the blessing of Quran.
So what would you associate? Which maqam would you associate with anashid, for example? If you wanted to give a tip to or a skill to one of the viewers, and they're a bit confused as to how to maybe compose a melody, or compose a tor, as we say. So they have a poem, but they say, I don't know what melody to use for this, but it's a nasheed they need to recite for an event.
So it is happy. It is happy actually. Happy. Basically, we have, for example, maqam as-sika. If you have watched the film of Ar-Risala, the message of our great prophet, Prophet Muhammad, peace be upon him, and his progeny, when our great prophet comes back to Mecca, so at that stage we have the melody of, for example, طَلَعَ الْبَدْرُ عَلَيْنَا. This is maqam sika.
It's a sika.
Yes, it's maqam sika.
Okay.
But you would be able to recite this, for example, طَلَعَ الْبَدْرُ in maqam other melodies. For example, I recited this, for example, in maqam, for example, Kurd or Bayati. طَلَعَ الْبَدْرُ عَلَيْنَا من ثنيات الوداع وجب الشكر علينا. So you recite in different melodies.
Okay. Could you walk us through the maqamat? I'd love to be able to see the differences in the maqamat that we have, the 7, for example, but using Tala al-Badr alayna. Could you do that?
Yes, inshallah, why not? For example, we start from Sabah. But it doesn't match, the meaning, of course, doesn't match with the...
No.
But I do it. Because Tala al-Badr alayna, you can't recite it with other melodies, but
it's basically because when a child just wants a bit more, that's what I'm like. I'm basically a child in all this, and just receiving this new piece of information. I just want more. So I know, of course, that the words don't match the maqam, but I love to hear more about it. And so that's why
firstly, maqam Sabah. طلع البدر علينا من ثنيات الوداع وجب الشكر علينا ما دعا لله داع أيها المبعوث فينا جئت بالأمر المطاع جئت شرفت المدينة مرحبا يا خير دار.
So that was Sabah.
Sabah.
Okay. And could you go to Nahawand?
طلع البدر علينا من ثنيات الوداع وجب الشكر علينا ما دعا لله داع أيها المبعوث فينا جئت بالأمر المطاع.
And then Ajam, I think it's called.
Yes.
Right.
طلع البدر علينا من ثنيات الوداع وجب الشكر علينا ما دعا لله داع.
And then Ba we said was
بياتي
Bayati.
طلع البدر علينا من ثنيات الوداع وجب الشكر علينا ما دعا لله داع.
And Sika we've already done.
Yes.
This is the actual original.
Yes.
Hijaz, I'd love to hear more, because
Yes.
I know Hijaz is basically the adhan, right?
Yes.
As far as I know. So how would you then do Hijaz for this particular line?
But before I recite Hijaz, Hijaz is actually not the area, we call it Arabia. Actually, that was Hijaz. And as well, Hijaz, if you look at the movement of the camel in that film, in the message, as you have seen that film, even when the main melody in that film is Hijaz. Exactly, stop it at the movement of the caravan. That is Hijaz, yeah? And as you mentioned, Hijaz usually used for calling someone, for calling. That's the reason we say call for prayers. That's call for Hijaz. If I say Ali, Ali, that is Hijaz. Ali, come here. That is Hijaz. That's the reason you call Allahu Akbar, Allahu Akbar. Allahu Akbar, Allahu Akbar. So you call them. And now طلع البدر علينا في مقام الحجاز. طلع البدر علينا من ثنيات الوداع وجب الشكر علينا ما دعا لله داع. أيها المبعوث فينا جئت بالأمر المطاع.
That is phenomenal. I think actually, if this video is recorded, this video is recorded actually, but if we can make this into just a snippet, so that if people want to be able to associate, because the reason why I like it is because I sometimes get stuck when wanting to compose a melody. Of course, I must revert to the maqamat to see that there is a diverse range of melodies that I can choose from. And only one or two of them, maybe Sabah is the one that's only used for sadness, but I think Hijaz may come into that a bit sometimes, right?
Yes,
and so once I know that, then the person who's got a poem and saying, look, I need to compose something, but I can't because I don't know the melodies. Once they understand the melodies, they can say, for example, this is going to be a sad event. So let me start off with Hijaz, for example. All they need to do is start to practice with themselves. We call bendel, like, or just hum to yourself. How would you practically start composing something for a nasheed if you know, for example, you're focusing on Hijaz?
So
how would you do it?
As you mentioned, for example, the nasheed which I did for Ramadan, Ramadan Nur min Nur Allah, it was in maqam Bayat Shuri, because it needs Shuri, because you know Bayati, brother Ali Fadhil, Bayati, we call it Ummul Maqamat. You know, Bayati is mixture of two sensations at the same time, happiness and sadness.
Wow.
It's exactly when you are waiting in arrival, not in departure, at airport. Of course, now airport is not very busy, but because of the coronavirus. But when you are waiting in the arrival and your beloved person is coming, like for example, you wait for Imam al-Zaman alayhi salam, and Imam al-Zaman comes, hardly you're very happy, but your eyes cries. it's a mixture of two things together.
Wow,
Yeah, it's
wow, wow,
wajid
wow.
shawq. This shawq is maqam al-bayati. We call it al maqamat. When we teach our students, we say bayati is al maqamat. It's exactly the same feature, the same role as mother has in a family, because mother has connection with all of the members of the family. But maqam
Mm.
rast is Abu al-Maqamat, is Malakul Maqamat. We haven't recited Talal Badr in Maqam Rast. Rast is Abu
Oh,
al-Maqamat.
my sorry. Yeah, we stopped at Hijaz. I'm sorry.
That's okay. That's
And we also
but
have Kurd as well.
yeah, Kurd as well. So that's good. So
I think for me, sorry, but just before you, I think um, Kurd is the more, um, can we say the more fun,
yes,
the more artistic?
yes, definitely.
Could you?
Nowadays, many reciters in their recitation they use, especially in tartil,
Mm,
in the tartil recitation, exactly like Saudi reciters they use in their recitation, and as well many reciters here as well. Here or in Egypt, famous reciters in Iran, they use now maqam al-Kurd. It's a very nice melody.
mm. Say, there's always been a question that's bugging me, and I've been trying to reach a resolution, but my heart is saying there could be a possibility, but my mind is always saying no. These are two different industries, the East and West. So, for example, you mentioned in the beginning in terms of the musical alphabet, do, re, mi, fa,
Fa,
so.
sol, la, si, di.
Um,
So,
those are used by Western singers, shall we say?
yes,
Is that correct in saying? Yeah,
yes, yes.
Western singers. And for example, just for the sake of the discussion, Eastern singers, they would, for example, use these maqamat. Am I right in saying that, or
Yeah,
do they
in the
use different?
actually even in music, as you mentioned, for example, Eastern music like Arab music, yes,
Yeah.
of course they use all these maqamat because they use,
Mm,
but they have the theory, they have the note, every note they have written.
right.
The thing is, nowadays we have this possibility to learn the melodies like this with font.
Okay.
Yeah, but in the previous, for example, years,
Yeah.
it was not possible because of the maybe the gap we had, cultural gap, or many other things may be possible. We used to learn the melodies like just listening, copying.
Mm, mm,
We
mm,
didn't
mm.
know. We didn't know what is the note, what is the, for example, the pitch, which pitch we start and which pitch we end.
Okay.
We
Okay.
didn't
Okay.
know the
Okay.
gaps of each pitches, for example. But
And
now
now this is possible.
now, this is possible because there are two schools. One school at the beginning, usually they listen and they copy the reciter. For example, they know this is, the teacher says, this is Sabah, this is Qarar of Sabah, this is Jawab of Sabah, this is Jawab of Jawab. And you copy this in other verses. Yes? But
Mm.
but now you know what is the starting point of Sabah. For example, you have do, re, mi, fa, sol, la, si, do. Do, si, la, sol, fa, mi, re, do. Ah, ah. And you know, Sabah is starting from, for example, re. The starting point of Sabah is re. And you have the pitches. You know, the do, re, mi, fa, sol, la, si. It is a standard. We call it a standard, and each melody has different. It is exactly, brother Ali Fazal. It's like a train station which has many rails.
Mm.
Yes, but
Mm.
your voice is like a train which be able to go to different rails.
Mm.
Yes,
Mm. Mm.
especially in the pitches of the voices.
Mm.
Now, with this technique, so we are able to know the notes of each melody. And the thing you mentioned, Eastern and Western, for example, musical melodies. In Eastern melodies, usually India is very famous because they use sa, re, ga, ma, pa, da, ni, sa. Okay, they use this, which is Eastern. And in Western music, we use do, re, mi, fa, sol, la, si, do. Of course, the melodies we use, for example, we had a discussion when I was in Iran, and my friend was a musician. So we had a recitation together. I was reciting and he was singing. And he said, all of our melodies are the same. Yes, it is the same. Even if you go through the names of melodies, we use the same names in Arab music. They have
Mm.
Sabah, they have Kur, they have all this stuff. They are the same. But how do you use it?
Mm.
it is the main point, how to use it for the recitation of the Holy Quran or anashid, all this stuff.
Say, there's a lot to discuss, and I'm very wary of the time, because I wanted to get into your world when it comes to recitations of anashid, because obviously you're an expert in maqamat, but how does it work when it comes to the words that you use? Does it make sense to use English words on Eastern maqamat, like the Sabah and the rest of it, for example? Does it, with those maqamat 7+1, can you do this?
Yeah,
Does it
it's
make
possible.
does it make sense from a musical perspective?
Uh, you know, uh, for example, when you use words in English words for example, reciting Sabah, it is possible. It is not a big issue. It's, for example, you say, for example, about Imam Hussein, when you recite something about Imam Hussein, you use maqam Sabah. That's okay. For example, if you say, "Oh my beloved Imam," you stretch that. That's good because you have long vowel there, and here as well you stretch the melody. That's possible. It is not a big issue, but of course, there are some techniques we have in the recitation of the Holy Quran, and as well anashid, the Arabic word, the proper Arabic word. For example, like ghunna. For example, in ghunna, that is the beauty of recitation. Always I mention to my students. For example, when you do ghunna in ikhfa, ghunna in nun mushaddad, nun with shadda and mim mushaddad. For example, when you say in this nasal sound, it's a very technical part of your recitation. Or long vowels. Or long vowel, for example, ربنا أنزل علينا مائدة من السماء. You can do this in English, but of course you need practice. As I have seen, you alhamdulillah, you do this stuff in your English recitation.
So that's the thing. I've always wanted to, without dropping any names, I know there are people out there who are singers, right? But they are Islamic singers. Sometimes it sounds okay, but sometimes I just feel like, are they using the use of the English word properly here with that maqam that they used? And so I wanted to, like, I want to find a way where we can find a middle ground, maybe a middle ground which is a maqam that's maybe can be used for both areas. Maybe Kurd is, am I right in saying maybe Kurd
Kurd gives you Kurd or bayat gives you enough space to maneuver. It gives you. It gives you. And another thing, sorry to interrupt you, Brother Ali. Another thing, it depends, even as you mentioned the words, each word, for example, if there are words in the Holy Quran which is about rules and regulations, so you can't recite those in maqam Sabah. You have to recite those in maqam al-rast, which is called rast. It is a Persian word which means right, straight. So you can recite with that melody. And another thing, which is, how do you want to recite? Do you want to recite with your vocal cords, or you want to recite, you give it intention with your heart? Because we believe that if you recite with your intention, with your heart, that will go exactly directly to the heart of audience. If you recite just without sensation, and you don't understand the melody, and you don't understand the words, so you can't mix these two things together. Because you, as a reciter, that is your responsibility to mix the words. First of all, you have to know the meaning of the words, and then you adapt or you match the proper melody with these types of words. That will we do in Quran. Because in Quran, Brother Ali, sometimes we have a surah like Surah Al-Inshiqaq. The topic changes. So you should be able to change the melody with regards to the meaning.
Oh wow. So you can't stick to one maqam throughout a whole surah, for example.
For example, when we say, يا أيها الإنسان إنك كادح إلى ربك كدحا فملاقيه. And then we have right group. فأما من أوتي كتابه بيمينه فسوف يحاسب حسابا يسيرا وينقلب إلى أهله مسرورا. So it's all happy. And now exactly the topic changes. You should be able to change the melody. وَأَمَّا مَنْ أُوتِيَ كِتَابَهُ وَرَاءَ ظَهْرِهِ فسوف يدعو ثبورا ويصلى سعيرا. So you should be able to change. If you don't know the meaning, it is a big problem.
That is amazing. That is amazing. Look, as I mentioned, this discussion, I'm sure you know better than I do. It's not just a half an hour discussion. There are hours and hours and hours of discussions that can be made. So before, I think we're going to take a small break, Sayed. And after the break, what I'd love to discuss, and for the benefit of the viewers as well, is that when you are actually now on stage, what is your thought process? How are you performing? What do you consider when you're performing? Inshallah, we'll get onto that and the review process. So when you're reviewing a certain event that you've had, inshallah, we'll touch upon that very, very soon. Okay. So for the dear viewers of Imam Hussein TV, you are watching Light Our Nights with myself, Ali Fadhil, and my guest today is Sayyid Jalal Masoomi. We are having an absolutely amazing discussion regarding Quranic recitation. So please do stay tuned. We're going for a very, very small break, 2 minutes, and we'll see you then. Thank you.
Bismillahir Rahmanir Rahim. During this blessed month of Shahr Ramadan, we at Imam Hussein Development and Relief Foundation are looking to provide food baskets for 1,000 families living in poverty in and around the blessed city of Karbala. Each food basket contains a variety of essential food supplies that is sufficient to feed roughly a family of 4 for just about 10 days. By donating 20 pounds per food basket, you can play a role in ensuring that nobody living in the city of Imam al-Hussein ever misses an iftar due to poverty. Contribute today and play a part through our website at www.ihdrf.org, or follow us for updates on this campaign for Shahr Ramadan through our social media. May our two masters, Imam al-Hussein and al-Abbas, reward each and every one of you abundantly during this blessed month of Shahr Ramadan as you work to elevate poverty from the great city of Karbala.
Assalamu alaikum, this is Hussein from London. You're very blessed to be in the holy land of Karbala. Please pray for us and pray for everyone who do wish to go.
Assalamu alaikum, brother. I want to pay my respects to Imam Hussein and Mulla Abbas from my parents, and I would like you to recite salam and ziyarah for Imam Hussein and Mulla Abbas on my behalf.
السلام عليك يا ابن الحسين وأولاد الحسين وأصحاب الحسين وأنصار الحسين لبيك يا حسين لبيك يا غازي السلام عليكم ورحمة الله وبركاته.
وعلى علي بن الحسين وعلى أولاد الحسين وعلى أصحاب الحسين.
خدا رحمت کنه همه گذشته ها رو. پدر ما رحمت الله علیه گفتن تو خونشون روزه بوده، یه وبایی اومده بوده که اون وقت گفتن بعدی که تموم شد معروف شد که 1/3 اهل شهر تو وبا مردن. حتی اون غسالی که غسل میداد اونم وبا گرفت، اونی هم که نماز میت میخون اونم وبا گرفت. دیگه مرده ها موندن، نه کسی غسل میداد نه کسی دفن میکرد. اونی که دفن میکرد مرد که خودش این مزید وبا شد. اون کوچه میگفتن تو این کوچه خونه ای نبود که یکی دو تا سه تا جنازه ازش داشت. اشاره کردم به یه خونه، یادم گفتن این خونه همشون مردن. وقت پدر ما میگفتن خونه ما یه دونه بچه ازش نبود.
Welcome back, dear viewers of Imam Hussein TV. You are watching Lights Are Nights with myself, Ali Fadhil. Discussions with public speakers, essentially when it comes to the artistic expressions associated with the Ahlul Bayt alayhimus salam. Tonight and today we've had an intriguing conversation with my guest, Sayyid Jalal Masoomi, and we're going to carry on that conversation where just a bit of a recap, essentially. We talked at large, well, we touched upon in the grand scheme of things, the maqamat, which are 7 plus 1 or 7, depending on what school of thoughts you're associated with Sayyid. Correct me if I'm wrong. And then we also talked about some of the preparation that the Sayyid goes through when it comes to actually choosing the right verses for the event, and then actually specifically choosing the right maqamat for those verses. Now we're going to speak about when you're actually at the event itself, Sayyid. So you're sitting within the audience. Typically you're the first of the schedule to go up with the Quran recitation. So your name is called up, Sayyid. What's your first thoughts?
Okay, actually, you know, the first thing, so always, which is my first priority to focus on the recitation of the Holy Quran, it is that, so I do this first of all for the sake of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, and فَلْيَتَوَكَّلْ عَلَى اللَّهِ إِنَّ اللَّهَ مَعَ الْمُتَوَكِّلِينَ. And then, unfortunately, Brother Ali Fadl, so the problem is the intention of the Holy Quran, it's not as much as we have to expect it. It's not at that stage. Because usually the recitation of the Holy Quran, sometimes, so we have a good audience, sometimes even we don't have that number of audience, and even if we have some audience, sometimes even they don't pay attention in the recitation of the Holy Quran. We have to mention this point, which is very important, because unfortunately in our Islamic societies, we don't have that particular respect we should have for the recitation of the Holy Quran. We should
absolutely
should give this value. And then another thing, which is as well, you might experience this, the sound system, unfortunately, it's not always good sound system. We have problem, especially in the recitation of the Holy Quran and as well in Nasheed, because the sound system is not that good. But I have to warm up my voice before I come to the recitation of the Holy Quran. And of course, for the recitation of the Holy Quran, we have our specific diet or regime. So cold water or those stuff, spicy foods we shouldn't eat or drink. And then when we have audience, of course, it's better for me, myself, always, I recommend this to my friends and my students as well, that it's better to have the words or the verses of the Holy Quran in your mind. You should know them I mean, by heart, and then you recite it, you would be comfortable. So when I go, I want to have always the attention of the audience. By even at the beginning of many of my recitation, I ask them in English and even in Arabic. Believe me, I recite that ayah, وَإِذَا قُرِئَ الْقُرْآنُ فَاسْتَمِعُوا لَهُ وَأَنصِتُوا لَعَلَّكُمْ تُرْحَمُونَ, so I can bring my audience. And as well, asking them that listen to the recitation of the Holy Quran. Usually we start with Inna Allaha wa malaikatahu yusalluna ala nabi until the end, and then I recite the recitation of the Holy Quran. But of course, you know, when you go to the new place, of course you might have some types of stress, or in that case, of course, when you go through the recitation, gradually it will be to zero. But of course, If you warm up your voice, you won't have problem. Drink usually when I recite, so I should have water with myself. So that is the procedure of reciting of the Holy Quran. It depends how many minutes I recite. Usually when the time is short, I go to the higher pitch of the melodies, to the jawab of melodies quickly. If the recitation is, for example, believe me, Brother Ali Fadhil, it was sometimes of majalis I recited for 3 hours or for 2 hours.
MashaAllah.
Yes. So in that case, it depends how you should recite. Because if you recite, for example, for 40 minutes, so you should go through the melodies slowly, not to the higher pitch. If you go quickly to the higher pitch, your voice will be tired. So you should go through the tabaqat or pitches of your voice gradually.
Okay, and so what is your ihsas, what is your feeling when you're in the midst of your recitation? Do you look up to see maybe the audience, or are you fixated with the words? How does it work with you?
Believe me, Brother Ali Fadl, sometimes I don't look at anything. And even sometimes, believe me, when I recite very nice, of course I'm not reciting very nice, but I believe that is not me.
Of course, Sayyid, you recite really nice.
Believe me, that is Ali Fadl. I believe me that I always say that was not me, because I was not reciting that, because it's not me. Because when you read or when you recite for the sake of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, I always believe that. I think there is someone or something comes to me, and that will help me to recite. Yes, yeah. But of course, it's better to look to your audience, because regarding to the adaptation of energy, that is the reason when I say to my students that you memorize the verses of the Holy Quran and then recite for the audience, because when you look at the audience, the level of your energy will be up over than the energy of the audience. But when you look at the verses of the Holy Quran, I mean, regarding the psychology, you believe that many energy comes to you, but it is not positive, negative, because you are under the energy of the audience. So your recitation won't be good recitation. You see this in the recitation of famous reciters from Egypt, because when they recite, their sitting position is standard, because they sit amud, they sit straight, they have 90 degree of the upper and lower part of the body, so they are comfortable, they recite nicely. But if you don't know the verses by heart, so even the position, your position is not standard, so you feel pressure, you yourself put pressure on yourself, and you as well have the pressure of the audience upon you. So it's better to know the verses of the Holy Quran by heart and look at the audience. You give energy to them.
Absolutely. Okay, so you've then finished the recitation, 40 minutes, 3 hours. What's the review process? How would you review whether do you have a reviewing process, or khalas, this is done and I go to the next recitation, the next event?
No, personally, I always record my recitation, Brother Ali Fadl. Always. Fantastic. I listen to them, because I have to listen to them. If for example, I have some part which is not matching with the meaning, or my voice was not good, so I have to sort that part. And if there is some good melody, I used good nafas, so I use that one. I always point on my positive points and negative points. I have to always look on those parts.
Fantastic. Okay, brilliant. Well, I think we've had such a brilliant discussion. I'd love to now see this now in fruition and come to life. All of the theory that we talked about, I would love to see it come to life. And so please, could you bless us with a couple of lines of poetry, or even a Quranic recitation, whichever you are comfortable with right now for the last couple of minutes of the show, in honor of Imam Mahdi Jalal.
How many minutes I have, brother?
You have about 5 minutes.
5 minutes. So yeah. 5 minutes.
Actually, say it, by the way, you have as long as you want, technically, because we can always tell the producers to increase the time if you like. So if you want 5 minutes, 10 minutes, up to you.
Okay, so let me recite some verses for the sake of Imam Mahdi Ajjalallahu Ta'ala Farajahu Sharif, and then inshallah we will do some anashid for
Inshallah.
Ahlul Bayt, inshallah. Okay.
Mhm.
أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم. بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. ولقد كتبنا في الزبور من بعد الذكر أن الأرض يرثها عبادي الصالحون. إن في هذا لبلاغا لقوم عابدين. وما أرسلناك إلا رحمة للعالمين. ولقد كتبنا في الزبور من بعد الذكر أن الأرض يرثها عبادي الصالحون. ولقد كتبنا في الزبور من بعد الذكر أن الأرض يرثها عبادي الصالحون.
الله.
إن في هذا لبلاغا لقوم عابدين. صدق الله العلي العظيم. اللهم صل على محمد وآل محمد وعجل فرجهم وشرفته. So this ayah is dedicated for our Imam Zaman. Inshallah, may he comes and will have peace and
Inshallah.
happiness in all over the world.
Inshallah.
So, and a sheet for Al al-Bayt, inshallah, for Bi Ali Muhammad. I will recite that one, which I like it because it is Bi Ali Muhammad as well. Imam Zaman is Ali Muhammad, inshallah. بآل محمد. بآل محمد. بآل محمد عرف الصواب. وفي أبياتهم نزل الكتاب. وهم حجج الإله على البرايا. وهم حجج الإله على البرايا. بهم وبجدهم لا يستراب. بهم وبجدهم بهم وبجدهم لا يستراب إن في الجنة نهرا من لبن إن في الجنة نهرا من لبن لعلي وحسين وحسن لعلي وحسين وحسن كل من كان محب لهم يدخل الجنة من غير حزن يدخل الجنة من غير حزن حب آل البيت فرض عندنا وبهذا الحب لا نخشى المحال صلوا على محمد وآله
على محمد وآل Muhammad. Sayyid, Wallah, it has been an absolute real pleasure to have you on the show. And I want to thank you so much for your time, for your dedication. I wanted to also know, in terms of, you mentioned again your students. If someone wanted to become your student, what do we have to do? What's the process? How do we sign up essentially?
Now, because of this coronavirus, we have 2 classes every week, which is online. I do through Zoom. Every Wednesdays and every Fridays, which is at 6 p.m. till 8 p.m. Because one of them is Wednesdays, which I used to have at the Islamic Center. Another one is for our Dar al-Quran in the name of Al-Furqan Dar al-Quran, which we established recently. So we have the students, they come online and they recite, we check their recitation. But before, at the beginning of the lesson, so I have a theory, I have the lesson, I teach them. For example, one rule I teach them, and during the lesson, when they recite, regarding to the level they have, because we have different levels at that class, because it's online, so we give this opportunity to our students that they can be useful for them.
Okay.
So regarding, for example, some students we have, they are very high levels, so they know the melodies, so we work melodies with them. And some of them, they are, for example, they're not good in
beginners.
The fluency. They are beginners, we work on the fluency. And some of them in middle, so we work on the tajweed with them.
Okay. And how would we be able to get in contact with you regarding access to this to these sessions?
Through my contact details, through my Facebook, through my Instagram, through my telephone number. Inshallah, will be at your service.
Inshallah, definitely. That's something I would definitely personally want to look into. And everyone who is watching, who wants a bit, not just a bit, actually, a full in-depth analysis and really the theory of understanding more about Quranic recitations, the tajweed, the tartil, if I get it right.
Yes.
I always get confused, but yeah. But look, just before we go, I'd also want to ask the brothers and sisters and the dear viewers to recite the Fatiha for the mother of the Sayyid Jalal. You mentioned earlier that she did pass away on a night like this. And so my condolences, and of course, I would like to recite again for the viewers to recite the Fatiha for the mother of Muhammad wa ali Muhammad. Allahumma salli ala Muhammad wa ali Muhammad. And so I leave my dear distinguished guests, brothers and sisters. I leave you for tonight, and of course, I'd once again like to thank you so much for your time, Sayyid Jalal, for everything that you do within the community and everything that he does essentially for Quranic recitations and bringing respect to the Quran for these events. And he touched upon a very sensitive subject, and it's not really sensitive. It's a subject which we need to take into consideration. That is, when it comes to our events in the community, is the Quran segment of that event there because we have to have it, or do we genuinely respect the Quran and give it its due diligence, i.e. sound, i.e. time, i.e. the reciter as well? And so that's something that we should be thinking about. But on a more lighter note, again, once again, it is the birth of the awaited Savior Imam al-Mahdi Ajallahu Ta'ala Farajah Sharif. I feel like there is a positive energy throughout the whole world who is online right now, all singing the praise of the Ahlul Bayt, and specifically to Imam al-Mahdi Ajallahu Ta'ala Farajah Sharif. And so, once again, congratulations, you are watching Light of Nights. Tomorrow, inshallah, we will be here at the same time of 10:30 p.m. UK time for another guest within the artistic expressions to the Ahlul Bayt alayhim assalam. From myself, Ali Fadhil, wassalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.
Bismillahir Rahmanir Rahim. During this blessed month of Shahr Ramadan, we at Imam Hussein Development and Relief Foundation are looking to provide food baskets for 1,000 families living in poverty in and around the blessed city of Karbala. Each food basket contains a variety of essential food